Hello, hope you are doing alright. You see, as human beings, when we listen to something motivational, we get pumped and motivated, but yet 2 3 days later, we go back into our old ways. So I was trying to understand this pattern because for a very long time I've decided to do these things that I'm doing right now, but I was always scared. I was always putting it off. I was always not ready or not, I didn't have the right materials. But then I began researching and say, okay, I'll start doing this by the end of this year. I'll start doing this by the beginning of next year. It was always like the start period was always moved. Then I began, why is it that I'm not doing the things that I want to do? Why is it that I plan to do something and yet 2 3 days later I go back to my old ways? Then, as I was doing some research, I realized it has nothing to do with my plans, but it has everything to do with me and my past. So I behave the way that I behave because there are patterns that have been made or designed within me that even if I try to do something new, those patterns always ensure that I go back in alignment with the patterns. So if I don't deal with the patterns that prevented me from doing the things that I was supposed to do, I always found myself not doing the things that I want to do, even when I want to do them, that I really want to do these things. So the past is something that we must all deal with if we are to ever make it in this life, because the majority of the people have a rough past, and if that rough past is not dealt with, our belief is affected, how we see the world is affected. We always feel like we're inferior to other people. Why? Because not that we are inferior, not that the people that we are talking to, they're making us feel inferior, but by design we just feel inferior being in the presence of some people. Why? It is because of that pattern or that system was built in when we were young, and we continue responding to that pattern unconsciously. We continue responding to things in that pattern unconsciously. You would wonder, why are you insecure? Why do you respond to things the way that you respond? Why do you say, this is the way that I am? It is because those patterns were designed long in your early stages of life, and those are the patterns that have shaped who you are. Some people are confident right now, not because they all of a sudden became confident, but because in their childhood they had that environment that ensured that these people were confident. And those that are insecure, it all goes down to the childhood that person had. Then I began to search for things in my past. What could have happened to me that actually has led me to doing the things that I'm doing right now? Or not being committed, having bad habits. What are those things that have built up in my that was built up in my early stages of life that is affecting me and actually my true expression in this world? And as I began dealing with those things, I realized that is not who I want to be. I don't want to be that person that is insecure. I don't want to be that person that feels inferior when I'm in the presence of other people. There are people where when they're with other people, it's like they can talk about anything and everything. But then when you take them in a place of maybe prominent people, they shrink. Why is it like that? It always comes down to your early stages, where you were told when growing up to say "Ngaut Pawakulu" is to keep quiet. Meaning, if you are with the elders, you have to keep quiet. You don't have to say anything, just listen. And then that is a mentality that we have built, or that has been built up, because Ngamuli Pawakulu means that the discussion that was there is an important discussion. So even in important discussions, you are quiet, not because you don't have anything to say. You might have things to say, even important things to say in that meeting, but because you have a design or a pattern of not saying anything when important things are being discussed. So this is really something that we need to deal with. The past is something that we must really deal with. We need to truly evaluate ourselves. Why do I behave the way that I behave? Why do I respond to life the way that I behave? Why do I have this mindset? Until those things are dealt with, everything that you plan going forward, it will be a struggle to achieve them, because you will keep finding yourself falling back into the old patterns of thinking, the old patterns of doing things. The Bible says, do not be conformed to the patterns of the world. And most of the times, we are conformed to the patterns of the world. So even if we want to please God, we find ourselves not be able to do those things, because the way that our minds and our bodies are designed is such a way that it conforms to the patterns of the world. So when we go to a place, for example, as Christians, and then that place is like people are drinking, there are partying in a worldly manner, instead of staying true to who we are as believers, we fall back into the old pattern of the world, and then we party like the world. So we have a more like a two-side identity, where there are certain places where we can go and we are like Christians, and then when we go to other places we are like, okay, we are in the world. It's the same thing. When you're among your friends, you can talk, you can express yourself, but when it comes to things that are important, you like take a form of your childhood, where when important things are being discussed, you keep quiet. So my encouragement to everyone right now is truly assess yourself. Look into the past, because the belief that you have right now was built in your early stages. It was built there, it was rooted there. You are not able to see possibilities for yourself because those things were rooted deep down there. You are not able to see a way out of the only way why you see that employment is the only way, because those things were rooted deep down within you. So you can't see entrepreneurship as something that you can venture into, because you were rooted deep down to be an employee. So you can't think anything outside being an employee. You know, there are people that are born in businesses, and then they grow up to being businessmen, because even in their early stages they were built up to be business people. And then for some people it is a struggle for you to change your mindset. That is why you must always engage in a continuous process of reshaping your past. By one way of reshaping your past is knowledge. When you know that, okay, I'm behaving like this because of something that happened to me in the past, you are able to change that. So ignorance keeps you in the same place. It is only when you have knowledge that you will be able to escape that old pattern and develop new patterns. So I urge every single one of us that let us assess ourselves and question certain behaviors that we have. And only then we'll be able to make wise decisions for our life, and decisions that will fit and meet and shape who we will become, to a point where when we look back, we'll be proud of the person that we have become. Always engage in a continuous process of improvement. You know, I didn't know these things not until I began doing some searching. So after I did some research, I discovered the past is really a hindrance to my progress, to who I want to become. So I can want to become as great as I can be, but if I don't deal with that thing that is limiting me, my mindset, which was developed in my early stages, my behaviors, habits, if I don't deal with those things and begin to pick up new habits that will actually work for the person that I want to become, I will always find myself, I will always be in that struggle. I will always be in the things don't work out here, because those things were rooted deep down within you a long time ago, and you have evidence that things don't work out here. But that doesn't mean that things don't work out there. It's just that the experience that you have is that things don't work out there. Things don't work out where you are. But the truth is, things do work out, because there are people out there that are actually doing that thing that you want to do. that because your mind is limited, you cannot see, you cannot past see it. Even if you try it, you cannot, because your design is such that it prevents you from seeing. I pray and I hope that this is going to help you to begin to do some researching and really discover who you are, especially your past. And if it's working for you in a negative manner, please do some changes and begin to see life in a different light. I wish you all the best things in life. I'm Chibuya James Mope.